Hello and welcome to another episode of Music and Words Unite. I am your host, Troy, and with me I have my co-host today, Mark. Hey, Mark, how's it going?
What's up, y'all?
And today is a very anticipated episode. It is a band that I have loved since I was 13 years old. And when I was that age, I really, really loved them. And so I've gone back, and Mark and I have gone back and re-listened to all their old stuff and all of their new stuff as well. And yeah, Mark not as much as me, but we'll talk about that when we get there. But overall, I think we're ready. In fact, every album post Melancholy I listened to two times in the last week alone. So just to be sure that I was ready for this one. So we're going to do a tier list. There's going to be a few rules. Really, there's really only two rules, actually. The first rule is that no more than four albums are allowed in any tier. So, for those who are new to tier lists, basically there's this ranking S, A, B, C, D. S being God tier, it's untouchable. It's basically perfect, right? That's what an S tier album is. And then an A tier, right, is maybe not perfect, but one of the best still. Very, very strong, but just not as strong as the S tier. And then down the line from there, right? All right. So we're only allowed four in each category. What happens if the category is full, or the tier is full, excuse me, and we want to add one there? Well, at that point, we have to bump something down. Okay, that's the rule. So what that means is if there's something in A tier and it's full, and you want to move something from A tier to C tier because you really hate it or think it is C tier, you're going to have to cascade A to B and then B to C then if it's full. So this gets a little crazy if you start moving stuff around. One move is okay, but when you start trying to cascade, it kind of gets kind of fun. So anyway, that's the tier list. We do it this way because it actually forces us to really think about which ones are better than others instead of just lumping everything at the top, for example. So there we go. All right, so we're going to do Smashing Pumpkins. We're going to do all their official studio albums plus two compilation albums, one being Pisces Iscariot and the other being the Airplane Flies High box set. We deem them as worthy of ranking on their own in this tier list, basically. All right. So we're going to roll a 15-sided die, and whatever number comes up on this list, actually, it's not in specific order. So this is kind of random, and the dice is going to be random. So, Mark, do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
Uh, doesn't matter to me, buddy.
All right. Mark, actually, before we push this button, I think we should let the audience know who they're listening to when it comes to Smashing Pumpkins. You might have some hardcore Smashing Pumpkins fans listening to this, or you might have some newbies. Who knows, right? The point is, though, I'll go first. So,
Okay.
again, one of my favorite bands as a teenager. I stopped listening to them heavily after Melancholy. And then I did. At when I was younger, I didn't really like Adore. I'll talk about my feelings on it today, though. See if it changed at all. And I got Machina. I didn't love it at the time. Again, I'll talk about that today. But I did see them on that tour, and my first rock concert ever was the Melancholy and Infinite Sadness tour. So part of the fun of all this for me has been kind of rediscovering things that I dismissed when I was younger that maybe I shouldn't have. That's a teaser. As well as, and I saw them one more time when they got back together in 2018, 2019. I saw them in Chicago for their Shiny and Oh So Bright tour. So I saw that tour as well, actually. So, Mark, why don't you tell everyone about your background with Smashing Pumpkins?
Um, when they were really, really big, I was pretty young at the time, so it was kind of
Hmm.
like it was a little bit before I really had like real music taste. Like, I mean, at that time I was probably buying like Disney Channel albums, so
Hmm.
like when Siamese Dream came out, I was 5, so
Okay. Okay.
so
Gotcha. Gotcha.
yeah, so it was
Right.
like even
Right.
when Melancholy came out, I was 7. So it's like,
Gotcha.
I wasn't really like listening to music seriously at that point. So
So Siamese Dream for the audience reference came out when I was 12, but it was right when I was soon after I turned 13, so it was very beginning of my teenage years. So it was like, pretty influential for me at that time.
Yeah.
Um, so let's get it started. Mark, why don't you go first, buddy?
Okay.
11. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. A door.
Wow.
Okay. Yes. All right.
Okay.
Yes. So, Mark, I thought, why don't we just do a little intro to this album for those who might be not be familiar.
Sure.
This album it preceded Melancholy Infinite Sadness, which was that and Siamese Dream were mega, mega hits. And I think maybe sales wise at the time, Melancholy was even bigger. I think we could confirm that. But they became like mega stars when Melancholy came out. And so this was the album that followed Melancholy, and the band was going through a lot of problems at the time.
Hmm.
Jimmy Chamberlain, the drummer, who's one of my all-time favorite drummers, was going through some drug rehab problems, and so he wasn't in the band. And Billy, I think, was pretty frustrated with the state of everything. And on top of that, his mother died at the end of the Melancholy and Infinite Sadness tour.
Hmm.
And on top of that, I believe he got a divorce. I think that's true. So you could fact check me on that one if that's not true, but I think that's true. But the point is, he had a lot of bad shit going on at this time, and he wrote this album, and he self-produced it basically too. So, Mark, it's your ranking. So where would you rank this album?
Um, Let me give like a little bit of background on it first.
Okay.
Like you said, this came out after Melancholy, so like this is the Be Here Now of Smashing Pumpkins. Be Here Now being the I don't know if you're familiar with wow, I'm having like a brain fart. I don't know if you're familiar with Oasis at all.
Yeah, I am. Yep.
So Be Here Now was the album that followed I think it was What's the Story, Morning Glory.
Yeah, that's their biggest one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's their biggest one.
Yeah.
Um so like people were expecting I assume they were expecting a Melancholy part two, like with, Hit Machine after Hit
Hmm.
Machine after Hit Machine, and they got this in my opinion completely different sounding album. It's more akin to like a goth album. It's
Hmm.
more, honestly, it sounds closer to like the that Cocteau Twins album we listened to a couple episodes ago.
Hmm.
Like it's
Yep.
more ethereal sounding, it's more gothy, which I mean, as you may know by now, I fucking love.
Hmm.
It's just not what people were expecting, and in hindsight, I commend them a lot, especially with the albums that succeeded this one, and
Hmm.
like how they really tried to find new sounds on each album. Because I will say that Smashing Pumpkins, each album definitely does sound a lot different than the other ones. Like they're not
Yep.
just, they don't just mesh together.
Yep,
Um,
I totally agree with you. Let me add one thing to that, Mark.
sure, yeah,
Something that I think their popularity took a big hit because of that.
yeah, absolutely,
But I
absolutely.
think that Billy Corrigan, I was watching an interview with him earlier actually, and he was talking about he would rather always just try new stuff than be popular.
And I
So,
definitely commend him for that
right,
because he
right,
could have just made Melancholy Part Two, and everybody would
right,
have been like, "Oh, like this album's incredible too." But he
right,
took a risk on making a different sound, and a lot of not a lot of people liked it when it came out. But I think
right.
in hindsight, this album is a very solid album, for
Mm-hmm.
at least for me. I think
Sure.
a lot of people retrospective like inner like listens and looking back on it, they think it's also very good and very very daring at a time when this kind of music was not popular at all.
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
I mean, you have to remember this is like not quite the heyday of grunge and the likes and alternative rock, but towards the end at least. I mean, it was 1998, so
Hmm.
you still
This is
had a
when
lot of,
this is when new metal was coming out too.
basically, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we'll get to
Yeah.
that in the next album after this,
Right.
but
Right.
um yeah, I think it was, at the time people were upset because it wasn't what they wanted, but I think in hindsight you can give Billy Corgan a lot of credit for what he did here because it's musically it's a very good album. I will say that I really enjoyed it a lot when I listened to it.
Where would you rank it?
um it would definitely be between a B and an A.
Okay.
For me personally, I would put it more towards A because it's more my style. But I
Okay.
think but I think from a neutral point of view, from like anybody, I would say a high B, low A. Either
All
one
right.
really. You can be the deciding factor here.
For now, I'm going to put it in low A, and I'm going to make the
Okay.
case for that. Where there's
Okay.
only one in A now, but
I I
we'll horizontally rank it later. But
I I would have it high A for me
okay,
personally because I really
okay.
like it a lot.
Personally, I haven't done this myself on the side, so I actually don't know how I'm going to rank certain albums. I have my notes, but the reason I said low A is some of the songs are very strong on there. Some of my favorites are the opening song.
Hmm.
Um, Ava Adores, really good song. Perfect, really good song.
Crestfallen's really good.
Yeah. Crestfallen is,
Apples and oranges I like a lot too.
yes. There was a few songs though that in the middle of it, I was like, it kind of lost me. So much so that I had to go back and listen to 3 or 4 times to make sure that there wasn't just like, well, I haven't heard this song in a long time, so I'm dismissing it. But I literally did go back for the songs I didn't like 3 or 4 times to like, okay, maybe it'll catch on,
Do you
right?
remember which song it was?
So like the Annie Dog song,
Okay.
don't like that song. Shame, I was like, that
Okay.
song is kind of meh.
I thought you were gonna say Pug, and I was gonna say, "Come on, man, that
No,
song's great."
I like
Yeah,
Pug. I like
that
Pug.
song's great. I love that song.
My favorites though, maybe my favorite on the whole album is For Martha, which is a song about his mother
Hmm.
passing away.
Also, the
And I'm
longest song.
yes, and Behold, I believe also was about his mother. The one before that, that's
Yeah,
also a good
Behold the
one.
Nightmare. That song's very
Yeah.
good too.
Yeah. And Blank Page, I think, is about his divorce. Those last 3 songs are depressing as shit,
Yeah. Hmm.
but also really, really good.
Yeah.
Actually.
So
So
let me
to
just.
me, yeah, go ahead.
I was just
Yes.
gonna just close with this. I was gonna
Right.
say, if you're a Smashing Pumpkins fan, you like this album. If you're a fan of like sad, somewhat gothy music, you'll like this album. And if you're a
Hmm.
fan of like the more recent dark wave slash synthy like new wave-ish type music, I think you'll also like this album. So it appeals to a
I,
lot of different people.
and I would say there's a song on the Lost Highway soundtrack called I. You familiar with that one?
Lost Highway is in the David Lynch soundtrack.
Yes.
Okay.
Have you heard that song before?
I don't know if I have.
Okay. Well, number one, after this episode, go listen to that song.
I
That song is awesome. That song is like, if that song was on this album, which it was came around the same time frame,
Yeah.
it would push this album to high A, top of A for me.
Okay.
So one song, if they added it to this album, maybe swapped it with the Annie Dog song, this song would be like this album would be very, very strong, like all the way up there, pretty much. So yeah. Okay. Cool. So let's anything else about that one?
No, just
Okay.
I think it's a solid album.
The next one, which actually we got to put it at 14 now, excuse me.
Hmm.
I'm just gonna do this way. 10. All right. All right. Well, this is an easy one, but we should talk about
Wow.
it a lot. Okay. So,
Wow.
all right. So Siamese Dream. So let's talk a little bit about this album. Came out in 93, as we talked about, 4 times double platinum. Not that that means a whole lot in alt rock world, but it shows a significance in the popular culture, which is important because this music is not popular anymore. So
Mm-hmm. I would say it's made a resurgence recently.
resurgence, but when I say popular, I mean
Oh,
it's a
you mean like yeah, like Taylor Swift popular.
yes, like
Right.
teenagers are just listening
Hmm.
to this every day, like they
You're
were when I was a teenager, right?
you're right. You're right.
So a lot of stuff about Wikipedia regarding it's one of the greatest albums of the 90s. Um, I mean, I gotta say, let me see if I can find it, but I don't. Oh, I do have it. I do have it. I brought props this episode, folks. I brought
Oh,
props. Okay.
great.
All right. So we'll see how the props go. So this I have. This is a nice prop. This is a first pressing from
Hmm.
1993 of Siamese Dream. It's one of the best records, best sounding records I own, actually. I have a bunch of them. and that is incredible. So if you have vinyl, the reissue is also very great, but the original is just a little bit better. So anyway, so yeah, so this is obviously in the alternative rock world, widely considered to be one of the best rock albums, best albums there. In my personal opinion, it is one of the best albums of the 90s, period, by anybody, not even just alt rock music, just period. It's like a top 90s album. Um, and one of the reasons for that is because every single song is perfect. I wouldn't change a single thing. I wouldn't change a single thing on this album, front to back. You listen to it straight through. And my personal favorites, because every song is great. My personal favorites, like my go-tos on this album, are Soma. Soma, again, Soma's like might be in my top 20 songs of all time. That's how much I love that song. So yeah, I'm maybe I'm exaggerating, but it's up there. The point is Soma, Hummer, Mayonnaise, all that stuff. It's all great. What about you? Any thoughts about this album? Obviously, it's great, but anything that the viewers might find interesting?
What else do I really have to say? I mean, this album's like you said, perfect. It's my favorite of all of their albums, even more so than Melancholy. I
Okay.
think it personifies the transition from early grunge 90s to mid 90s, like more indie rocks type stuff, like that came out in
Yeah.
the mid 90s. Because
Right.
this is not a grunge album by any means. This is an
No.
alternative rock album.
Yeah, and it's one of the best produced.
Yeah,
Like
it sounds amazing.
it was produced by Butch Vig, who produced Gish, but this album sounds like light years better than Gish as far as the production, in my opinion. So whatever they
Gish,
did on this album, I don't know. They had some magic going for this
yeah,
album.
definitely, man. I don't.
Yes.
It just everything just clicked, man.
Yeah.
I like talking about favorite songs too. I mean,
Hmm.
I agree. Soma, Geek USA,
Yeah.
Mayonnaise. I as far as like the hits go, like I could go be fine without ever hearing Today or Disarm again. Like I've heard
Sure.
them enough times in my life. But Cherub Rock, I mean, as far as their singles go, that's my favorite Smashing Pumpkins single, easy. Like I'll never get tired of hearing that song.
And awesome. And I want to say something about Disarm, the power of this song. Okay. So my wife, I love her to death. She's the best. She is originally not from this country. She moved here when she was like 19 or 20. So she didn't grow up with this kind of music at all, right? Like American rock music, it's not even in our vocabulary, right? So we've been sitting down listening to all decades of music together on vinyl because we've been collecting and things like that. It's like a hobby. And so I said, I want to play for you some of my favorite albums, right? So I've played her a mix of other bands, and we sat down and listened to Siamese Dream. And the first night we got through Disarmed, we got through 6 songs before she had to go to bed. And hopefully she doesn't mind me saying this, but as we got through Disarmed, like she started tearing up, right? Like actually physically tearing up, and I was like, oh, that's not what I was going for. Like I didn't really want that reaction. I wanted this to be an enjoyable moment.
You're a
Right.
monster, Troy. You're a monster.
I was like, okay. But what it kind of it took me aback actually. I was like, someone that's never heard this before, right? Someone's never heard this before, not even familiar with this music. On their first listen, start tearing up. I was like, maybe I'm just desensitized to it because I've heard it so much. You know what I mean?
Probably, yeah.
But that's how powerful and like beautiful that song is, and sad actually. It's like beautifully sad, which is I would say Smashing Pumpkins at their absolute best is beautifully sad. That's what I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, yeah,
Definitely sad. Billy
yeah.
Corgan's definitely a sad guy.
Which is interesting when we get to the more recent records because they're not very sad. So anyway,
No, definitely not, actually.
right, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, absolute S tier, no question about it. I just wanted to say one thing.
Yeah.
I bet you that Siamese Dream. Have you ever been on rateyourmusic.com?
RateYourMusic.com. No, I
So,
haven't.
so
Yeah.
they have album lists for every year, and it'll
Hmm.
have like people will vote on like top albums, and it'll have like an aggregate score.
Okay.
So I bet you that on for the year 1993 that Siamese Dream will be at least in the top 10 on that site. That's how strong of an album that is.
I gotta verify that I'm a human. Okay, hold on. 93. It's number
Oh,
5.
there you go.
Okay.
Told you. Wow, look at individual thought patterns right underneath it. What the fuck?
All right, and hold on. Hold on. I'm calling. All right, I don't want to make this a debate, but
All
I'm
right.
calling
Come on,
BS.
come on, come on,
In
go.
Utero is not better than Simon's Dream. I'm sorry.
No.
You
It's
could
Nirvana. Of course it's gonna
you
be above.
could debate Nevermind, which I still don't think it is, but you could make that debate, right? Because it's like the 2 top albums of the bands, but not In Utero. And I think that's a good album, but it's not. There's no Simon's Dream.
Have you listened to that Slow Dive album right there at
No, I
number 2?
haven't, but it
Oh
sounds
man.
like one I need to listen to. So
Oh boy.
yeah. Okay. All
That
right.
is it. You talk about sad albums. Holy fuck, man.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, let's continue because we'll get
All right.
sidetracked.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. A Machina. So this is you.
Ooh, nice. I
You're-
actually, this is one of the ones I wanted.
Okay. This is the first. It's the first Machina, not the second one. All
The
right.
first one. Okay, the one
Yeah.
from 2000, right?
Yeah. I'll
Yeah.
bring that up too while you talk about it.
Okay.
Well, I'll give a little background reading this. So came out in 2000. If anybody remembers the world in 2000 of music, it was Limp Bizkit and hip hop metal and Korn and all that, right? I think aside from my opinion on the album, which I'll give after you give, Mark, I think this is just a bad timing album. I think this album came out like 2 or 3 years late. Meaning, if they would have followed up, I'm only talking about the public perception, not my opinion. If they would have followed up Melancholy with this album, I think this album would have got a totally different reception. That's my opinion. So why don't you give your ranking on this album before I go any further? Your thoughts about it.
Okay, let's see. You want my ranking first? Or you want me to describe it for what?
So give me your thoughts before you rank it. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So never listened to this when I was younger. This was 12. I was 12 years old when this came out, and this is about the time when I was like first buying CDs. And like you said, what was the music that was out then? One of the first CDs I got was fucking Lit, A Place in the Sun. You know who Lit is?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So you could take that with what you will. And Corn Follow the Leader was also another one.
Okay.
Because that's just what that was like cool then, you know?
Right.
Like you said, Limp Bizkit, Corn, new metal, all that shit. Like I had like an Orgy CD because because their cover of Blue Monday was like on MTV, and I was like, oh, this is cool, man, you know?
You know what we should do one episode, Mark? We should do a new metal album tier list.
I'd love nothing more, and we should have KT on too.
All right,
KT would be all over that.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry, continue.
So yeah, like long story short, like this came out at a time when like at the like new metal was burgeoning, you know, it was a burgeoning scene. So this album it's not if Billy Corgan wasn't the lead singer on this album, I would have never guessed it was a Smashing Pumpkins album because I don't really think it has a Smashing Pumpkins sound to it. It's more like alternative metal to me, honestly, like especially with like hints of industrial, and there's electronic, and there was one, I don't remember what song it was, but I was listening to it and I was like, this sounds like fucking like a Radiohead song, and I was like, this is like fucking weird. Like I was like so I was like taken aback. I was like, did Radiohead like rip this off for Kid A or something? I was like, what the fuck?
All right.
But like, I mean, that doesn't mean that I don't like it. Like it has a lot of things going for it. It's more like hard rock. It has like I said, more electronic elements to it. It flows well. It's not like a single track album like some of their previous albums. It's good to listen straight through. Like, you know, I can't really take much in from one listen, but from my first listen, I did really like it a lot. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Couple standout tracks were good. There was a couple duds on there, you know, like that's inevitable. But yeah, I mean, Everlasting Gaze was a very good track. Stand Inside Your Love is really good. I really like Try. This Time is good. Heavy Metal Machine. You know, there's some good tracks on here.
You know what This Time is about lyrically?
This Time?
Yeah.
No, yeah.
If you read the lyrics, right? And you know, once you read the lyrics, you'll be like, that it takes that song to like another level. That song is about him talking to his band as they're breaking up.
Yeah, so I did read that Billy Corgan said that
Yeah.
this album was basically a band in the process of breaking up making an album.
Yep. And that song is specifically about that. And it's really sad. That's the note I took. I said, damn, a lot of these songs grow on you because I think they do at the more you listen to them. But by the end, this one is pretty sad. Great song, but it's sad as hell. That's my actual
Yeah.
note about that song.
One thing to note too is that this album has the OG lineup on it too, as well as the second Machina album. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's probably why it sounds so cohesive. But
Right.
um, I like it just doesn't feel like a true Smashing Pumpkins album to me. Um,
Okay.
but
So
that's just but that's
what
just
would you
based
rank
off
it?
of like their. I would put it in B personally.
Okay. All right.
I don't know if you agree with me or not, but
No, I don't agree, but that's okay. Because we'll see what happens with A. Okay.
okay. So where would you put it in A?
I would put it in A, yeah.
Okay, you can put it in
And
A then. I would say high B, low A.
okay, the reason I'm going to give my reasoning for it.
Okay.
I had heard this album obviously when I was younger. I saw them on this tour, right? But for some reason at that time, I was heavy, believe it or not, Mark, into progressive metal. Okay. At
No,
that time.
no,
And it
no,
was like
no.
me at almost the height of being into it, right? So anything that was not progressive metal, I was like, I don't know, right? Or progressive rock, I was like, oh, it's cool, but I was starting to move away from that stuff, right? So going back to listen to this, I got the vinyl is like $500 because they only printed 5,000 of them total, I think. So it's super rare. So I didn't buy the vinyl, but I do have there's a couple songs on the greatest hits vinyl, Everlasting Gaze and Stand Inside Your Love. So I listened to that on vinyl and listened to the rest on the digital streaming, right? So and then what I put on that vinyl of those two songs, I was totally blown away. I was like, I just literally kept listening to them on repeat, like how good those songs were. And then I was like, okay, now I've listened to the rest of the album. And I'm listening to it, and song after song, I'm like, I love this song. I love this song. I love this song. Literally just like going down, I'm like, what's happening? When I got to the second half of the album, I was like, okay, there's a couple songs here and there that I'm not too crazy about, right? And then at the end, I really liked it. So it was like, for me, it was like an 80 percenter of I either really liked it or loved the songs. And I'm like, an 80% of like or even love is it's got to be either B or A tier, right? And then I was thinking, well, how much do I like the songs? Like, how would I compare them to songs on Gish? Like, don't even compare them to Siamese Dream, right? Like, compare them to other albums, basically, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then I'm like, I think I like some of them better. And I love Gish. So then I was like, okay, this is definitely an A tier album. So this is one I'm really excited about because they are reissuing this summer on vinyl. And they are going to, with Machina 2, which we'll be talking about in this episode, that has never actually been released officially. And that was only like basically given out to like 20 people on a vinyl and was ripped to an MP3. And it was just their demos that were just never really actually produced or anything.
Wow.
So the point is that is being, I believe I heard that they replayed the drum parts on it. They remixed it, they remastered it. It's gonna be like a full new album, like Machina 2. So the point is, this is the summer of Machina and Machina 2 for the Smashing Pumpkins. So yeah, so I'm excited about that. So that's my ranking on that one.
Let's not forget that this album came out around the same time that they formed Zwan as well. So
That's true, and that's something I've actually never listened to. So there
me
you go.
either.
I will, but I just haven't. All
Yeah.
right, so we got a. I feel like okay, 4. I think it's my turn, right? Because you ranked that one.
Yes, it
One,
is.
two, one, two,
Box
three,
set.
4. Okay. All right.
So let me say
Yes.
this. My brother did have this box set when I was younger, and I remember it distinctly, and I remember listening to it with him distinctly. So I can do a little input on this one with you.
All right. So I'm gonna give my thoughts on this one. I'm being long-winded on these ones, and the newer ones I probably won't be as long-winded on. So
Fair enough.
the not that I think they're all the new ones are bad by any means. I just don't have as much to say about them. So the Aeroplane Flies High box set. Here we go. So for those who aren't aware of this album, so Melancholy and Infinite Sadness came out, which we will talk about soon, I'm assuming. And at that time, he had recorded like, I don't know, 50 or 60 other songs too, like an insane amount of music, right? They recorded like 100 songs or something crazy like that at that time. And they were like, well, let's just release that too as a box set. So the Melancholy is 28 songs. And then they released a box set, which was, well, I don't know, like 6, 13, 20, 26, 33 songs. Now, four of them or whatever are repeats, right? So around 29 new songs, basically, right? On top of Melancholy. So it's like literally like releasing another Melancholy, right? So I went and listened to this again. I bought the box set. I had it when I was a teenager. I bought it off of eBay unopened, which was really cool because I got to open it last week, like from 1996, which was pretty cool. So I
Mm.
opened that and put the CDs in, and it was like time machine back to 1996, for me. So that was awesome. And then I went back and I said, I'm not going to try to have nostalgia glasses. I'm literally going to listen to every song and just take notes about them and what do I think about them, right? And then how do I fit in? How do they compare to other songs? And long story short, um, aside from one of the CDs, which is the Tonight Tonight one, some of these songs are okay. Like to me, they're okay songs. But everything else, like this album, the Bullet Butterfly ones with all these covers on it, and the James E. House song, this 1979 one with Ugly, The Boy, all this stuff, and then oh my God, like God and the Mouth of Babes and Tribute to Johnny, all these songs. If you just take this, and then last but not least is the last song. I don't know if you know about this song, what the significance of this song is, but Billy Corgan, long story, but basically him and his dad had this total crazy he had a crazy upbringing with his mom and his dad, right? I don't know if you know any of that stuff, but basically his dad was a drug dealer. His dad was like involved in, I think, in some kind of organized crime to some level. And Billy was like growing up in like drug houses and all kinds of crazy stuff because of his dad, right? And it ended up like towards the end of his dad's life, as they got older, I guess they kind of rekindled a little bit, or I don't know the full story. And Billy's dad played the guitar solo on this song. So the guitar solo on this song is actually Billy's dad, and it's a it's a really a full circle moment if there's any Billy Corgan fans out there, because for the longest time his dad, according to Billy, would tell him that Billy was no good, because basically his music wasn't very good when he was a celebrity, when he was wrote hit songs, basically. And somehow the power of forgiveness, the power of whatever, they got together and recorded this song. It's a freaking, I love this song. And then it's followed by one of the best Smashing Pumpkin songs of all time, in my opinion. The top 20. It's called The Aeroplane Flies High, Turns Left, Look Right. This could easily be on Melancholy Infinite Sadness. It could fit in right on the album pretty much anywhere. I listened to this with the headphones on at full blast the other day. Like I was in heaven. Okay. So anyway, so this song is killer. The point of me saying it's a long way of me saying I think it's not as good as Siamese Dream, but if I had to rank it as just a collection of a bunch of songs, I'm putting it low S tier. That's where I'm putting it.
Okay.
So there you go.
I mean, the only
So-
real input that I was going to add
yeah.
to it was
Yeah.
that the covers of like the songs on there like opened doors for me musically with other songs, because when I eventually heard them later on, I was like, oh shit, this is on that Smashing Pumpkins box set. Like, they cover Blondie, they cover The Cure, they cover the door, not the Doors, the Cars.
Hmm.
Um, that's like the most I remember about this album. Like, I know it had like deeper cuts from Melancholy. Was it cut songs from Melancholy? Is that what it was?
Yeah, most of it was Melancholy songs that didn't make it. But
Yeah,
that's how good Melancholy is. That
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
ranking the B-sides as an S tier album.
Yeah,
That shows
exactly.
you.
I mean, this has so much stuff on it too. It's
Right.
insane, man. There's so much. Like,
Yeah. It's crazy, man. I mean, the fact that that last song, Aeroplane Flies High, Ugly, There's a couple James Ehouse songs which are really good on there, like The Boy is really good. I mean, there's just awesome covers. The cover of the Blondie cover is awesome. The Cars
Mm,
cover is great. The Destination Unknown cover is really cool.
yeah, missing
Um,
persons.
yeah, this I mean, somebody you could argue it into A with me, and I wouldn't like. I would be okay, but I wouldn't take anything less than A. But since there's so much space, I'm putting it low S. So there you go.
Okay.
All right. Let's keep going.
Okay.
11. Roll the dice. All right. 2. This is you. Gish. All right.
Hey, cool.
So what do you
Gish, gish,
think?
gish, gish, gish.
Bring it up. So I'm only going to say one
Okay.
thing about this one, Mark, and then you take it over. So it
Okay.
came out in 1991. It came out 4 or 5 months before Nevermind, and it's produced by the same person who produced Nevermind. And Billy claims that basically what they did on this album, Butch Vig basically stole this, and there would be no Nevermind sound without this album. That's his claim. There's some alt grunge rock war in the background that happened with this album. There's a little bit of stuff about that. But anyway, the point is this says pretty fundamental. And the last thing I'll say is this album went platinum without really any, like, as far as I know, big radio hits compared to like Siamese Dream or anything, right? And it was an independent album, and I think it was one of the biggest, if not the biggest, independent album of all time. So there you go. Go ahead, Mark.
Um, I suppose if Billy Corgan makes the claim that they stole it for Nevermind, you could say that he stole some elements from Loveless by My Bloody Valentine for this album.
Sure, you could. You could. Yes. The
Not
stealing goes
that's
everywhere. Is what I'm
Yeah, exactly.
saying.
I mean,
Right.
it's been going on since time immemorial. So,
Right. Right.
um, but this album is great. Like you said,
Yeah.
like Butch Vig is a master, and this album sounds incredible, even for 1991 for a
Hmm.
debut. It's just like, who makes a debut that sounds this good? Honestly, like
Yeah. It's pretty
it's
crazy. Yeah.
yeah. Like, I mean, I could probably count on my hands the amount of good sounding debuts that I've heard. Like,
Right.
um, this also has one of my favorite Smashing Pumpkin songs on it, which is Rhinoceros. I love that
Okay.
song.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Great song.
um, Great sounding album. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of different like genre melding on this album. Like, I hear like I said, shoegaze. There's like psychedelic elements to it. It's like I don't really even know how to put it into words. So, like you could clearly hear Billy Corgan's, and I'm sure everybody's like their what they wanted to play on this album, and it's kind of just like all melds together. I love the
Hmm.
sound of James Iha's guitar on this album. Not like it sounds
Hmm.
good on every album, but it
Hmm.
just sounds just so like raw and like energetic on this album.
Hmm.
Um, it's great. I don't
Yeah.
think it's as strong as the two that follows, but
Hmm.
I think as a debut album, it's amazing.
Okay.
It sounds amazing, and
How,
it's a
yeah.
solid listen. Honestly, like I could probably listen to this album anytime and not really get bored of it.
How would you compare it to Adore on a ranking?
So I think Adore, I would probably need to be in the mood for it a little bit more because it's
Hmm.
more, um, excuse me, it's more like electronic-y and like moody.
Hmm.
Whereas like this is like, what can I? Let me see. How can I put this? Um, this is more like straightforward alternative rock with a lot of different other genres mixed in.
Yeah.
Adore is it's moody, it's dark, it's electronic ish. It's more emotional in a way.
Oh, I see. I was asking mainly for a tier list placement.
Oh, for a tier list
Yes.
placement.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
I would put it ahead of Adore in high A, I think.
Okay. Okay.
Um Maybe S. I don't Do you think it's a perfect album?
No.
I don't think so either. I think it's
I
a
think it's an
very
A
I
tier album.
I
Yeah.
think it's an above average album, which is why I would put it in A tier.
I agree. Totally agree.
Cool. We're on
Yeah,
the same page.
nothing else to say, but great album, great A-tier album. Later at the end, we'll debate the ordering of that, but we'll see. All right, the next one is okay. 5. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I would get always okay. Well, Melancholy
Oh,
Infinite
you got
Sadness.
Melancholy? Oh
Yes.
man.
The only debate really is going to be which one is higher. Stream or
Listen,
Melancholy
all right,
Infinite
let me
Sadness.
say this.
Yes.
Although I like Siamese Dream more because it means more to me, Melancholy is the best. It's their magnum opus.
Okay,
It's
all right. I'm
rank it
glad
the
you agree.
highest. Put it all the way at the top. It's their
I'm
best.
glad you agree. Let me just say,
It has the longest Wikipedia page. That means it's the best.
let me just say that I totally understand how someone would rank Siamese Dream above this. I actually do. I understand it,
I
actually.
don't think you can. You just can't.
But personally for me,
Okay.
I think this is the best. I'm not going to lump it in with metal, okay? Because there's so many different metal albums, right? But the best
Are you trying to think of an
rock,
analogy here?
I'm trying to think the best rock album of the 90s. If you said, what's the number one rock? Like, I would pick this out. To me, like front to back, that's my personal favorite. Put it that way. Best is very subjective. So it's my personal favorite. How about that? The point is, you can listen to this from front to back. It's 28 songs, and it takes you on a complete journey from opening up with just a piano and a mellotron to going through emotion like Tonight with an orchestra, right? And then it gets into Jelly Belly, which is one of the coolest like rock songs ever, I think. And if you ever want, if anybody musicians out there or anybody's interested in like recording techniques, they did things on this album, and in fact, other Smash Pumpkins albums too that like nobody does anymore, and nobody did even back then. Which is they would record the drums with no click track, all in one take, and then take that one take with no click track and one drum take and build the rest of the song on top of it. So what that means is every drum performance you hear is a live performance, one shot with no click. So what that actually does is when you listen to it, if you put this to a click track, you're going to hear how it's off. But that's intentional because as the energy grows in the song and shrinks, the tempo goes up and down a little bit. It's like a live feeling, you know what I mean? And there's no better like Jelly Belly is one of the perfect examples of that. It's beautiful. And then like Zero, right? Like right into Zero, and then Here's No Why, and then like I mean, and then Bullet Butterfly Wings, and then you go from there, bunch of songs, right? Go from there into songs with a harp, songs with, and then it gets into like Porcelain of the Vast Oceans, and then on this too, you got things like 33 and 1979. That's another song I played for my wife, and she was like, "Oh, the song's like this is great. Someone doesn't listen to this guy." It's like right, so like it transcends genres, is what I'm saying. Like that's how good it is, right? And then by the end of it, it wraps up with this really beautiful song, which is "Farewell and Good Night," which is the whole band singing. And if you really think about it, it was the last time they were together as that band because after that, Jimmy wasn't there, and then after that, Darcy left. So it was actually the last song on any official album that all of them were on, and then they kind of sang "Farewell and Good Night" as like a, I don't know if they meant it to be this way, but ended up kind of being a metaphor for that band. So it's kind of a really beautiful, and the album is called Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. So there you go. Um, that's all I got to say about it. Anything else, Mark?
Let me just say that another little tidbit here.
Mm-hmm.
So the engineer on this album was Alan Moulder.
Yep.
He was also the engineer on a little album that we may have talked about on here called Loveless by My Bloody
Yes.
Valentine. So I think that's pretty obvious that he was kind of going more again for the Loveless sound, the Wall of Sound.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Let me just say, I think Billy Corgan is a big old My Bloody Valentine fanboy.
All right, fair enough. And by the way, that episode will be coming out right after this one in a few days. So if you're listening to that one, that episode's coming out next. So Actually, that episode hasn't been released, Mark, is what I'm saying. So you're given a teaser for the next episode. But I'll
Oh,
probably do 4 days later. So it'll be the same week. All right. So, but thank you. Actually, that's a good reminder for everyone. So if you're listening to this,
I was
go
just talking
check that
about
one
the
out. So,
episode.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. That episode, the shoegaze episode's coming out right after this one. So, okay. So next up, your turn. We got 9. All right, so this is 8, which is Oceana. Now, have you listened to this one, Mark?
Not the whole thing.
Okay.
You want to take it?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay.
So this is one I listened to multiple times. I won't be long-winded about this one like I was the other ones. I'll just say this. There's no Jimmy Chamberlain. It's only Billy Corgan and basically a new band that he put together. That being said, there are some very good songs in this album, in my opinion.
I did like the first 3 tracks. I have
Okay,
to say.
yes. And my favorite ones are The Celestials, Violet Rays, My Love is Winter, and Inkless. Those are my top 4 from this album.
Okay.
So if you're out there and you're like, I would like to listen to, what year did this come out? 2012 Smashing Pumpkins. Okay. And you want to, start with some songs. My recommendations, those are mine. But of course, you could just listen to the whole thing. That's fine. But those are my personal favorites. Those are the ones I put on a playlist. So yeah, how would I rank this album? I'm comparing it to some of the other ones on the list that we haven't ranked yet. For now, I'm going to go low B, actually.
Okay.
Low B, not C or D. That could change in the future, but for now, low B.
Yeah.
All right. Next up. Okay. Wait, there we go. 8. The newest album.
Oh, okay.
Have you listened to this one?
I did. I listened
Okay.
to it once.
Okay. I've listened to it like 4 or 5 times this week. So yeah, we can pair on this one. So give me your thoughts about it.
It sounded good. I mean, I take in as much as I can with one listen.
Sure.
It had that alternative metal sound again. It's very rocking. He sounds really good on it, I have to say, especially for being a 60-year-old man. His voice still sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Like the first track, Eden, it's got some very nice James Iha guitar parts in it, and I was actually bobbing my head a little bit, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, a Smashing Pumpkins album from 2024. How is this gonna sound? Like
Right.
being all like obstinate and being like, this is gonna suck.
Right.
But I was pleasantly surprised. I liked it. That track, Pentagrams, is a good track. Like, got that nice little like weird like almost sounds like a electric harpsichord intro. Or whatever.
Yep.
I don't even. It's very cool. Like I like what they're doing on here, and I have to say, after listening to this and the preceding couple albums, like foreshadowing here, but this is like this is probably their best, maybe their best album, I think, since like the Machina albums, even even better than Zeitgeist, because I do like Zeitgeist, but like this album really surprised me.
Okay. Well, I have a hot take then, but I'll save it. So, all right. So, what would you rank it?
Of course you do. Of course
What
you
would
do.
you rank it? What would you rank it?
Yeah. I like, so it's only one listen, and like
Okay.
we gotta like we gotta put it somewhere. So I'm gonna say high B as well.
All right. I'm gonna say it's a little better than Oceana, in my opinion.
A little better. Okay.
Yeah, a little better. Only because actually half of Oceana I actually really liked. Half I didn't that much.
What about
This
the new album?
I like almost all the songs, but
Me
some of
too.
the songs on Oceana are very strong. So to me, that's why it's a little bit better, but it's not a lot better.
So what you're saying is you like all the albums, but none of them are like super strong on this album. On the newest one.
Right. There's individual ones from Oceana which I find myself listening to more.
Okay.
But I have listened to this album 4 or 5 times because I like the way it sounds. And what I mean is I like the style of it. The guitars sound awesome. The drums sound really good. So I want to like it. So I do like it. And I'm ranking it above it. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm dismissing. I am ranking it a B tier album, which is not bad, right?
Yeah.
All right. So next up. One. Okay. This is my turn, right?
Yep.
Zeitgeist.
Ooh.
This is my favorite Post Machine album.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Props. Okay, I forgot about the props. Okay.
Oh,
There you go.
nice.
So this is not on vinyl. It's never been released on vinyl. It's not even on streaming.
Yeah, it's not on Spotify either,
You
which is
have
so
to get it
weird.
on CD.
Why is that?
That's a good question. I honestly don't know. I forgot my other props, in case anybody's curious. I got this one, which is Melancholy box set. This is an awesome box set if you have vinyl stuff, if you're into that. Definitely get that. But anyway, yeah, okay, let's talk about this one. So, Zeitgeist. We have a rule that you're not allowed to put any more than 4 and 8 here, right? Okay, so it's gonna be the highest of high B, in my opinion. And I'll
Okay.
give you my reason why. So, some interesting things about this album, actually. Um, this was the return of Smashing Pumpkins. And what I mean by that is the return of Billy Corgan and Jimmy Chamberlain together, basically. That's the only original members on this album. They decided to make like a really rocking album, which this album is. It's definitely like a hard rock album. Um, and it was produced a production credit, although I don't know how much involvement he had, by Terry Date, who actually produced When Dreaming Day Unite by Dream Theater, which is the one of the worst sounding albums I've ever heard in my life, actually. And so that doesn't bode well for this.
I've heard worse. I've definitely heard worse.
But by the way, Dream Theater is my favorite band. If you're curious, so I'm not knocking Dream Theater. I'm just knocking the way the album sounds. The but the recording engineer for this album is Roy Thomas Baker. And for those who don't know who Roy Thomas Baker is, he was the recording engineer. And I want you to look at this list. But basically, he recorded all of the best Queen albums. Okay. Like he recorded Bohemian Rhapsody. He recorded like all of this great classic rock music. You can look at the list, right? You got Santana, David Bowie, Rolling Stones, Queen. This is like the guy. Okay. So what they did was they stayed at this house in Arizona, and they basically I think it was Terry Date's house, maybe that's what it was. And the house has a studio in it. And they just like lived there, I think. I think this is the story. I was watching a little documentary about it. And they had this gentleman be their recording engineer and like no other producer, I don't think. So they just recorded this album there. And the first half of this album is it's a total like banger to me. Like every song is like a banger. And then the second half is a little bit weaker, but there are some good songs on the second half too. But the first half, yeah, to me, it's a very good album. Any thoughts about this one?
Oh, Zeitgeist.
Yeah.
There's definitely a couple standout tracks for me. Like Doomsday Clock is great. I really like the song Bleeding the Orchid, which is the second track.
Yep. Bleeding
Br-
Orchid. Yeah.
Bring the Light's really good too. Apparently was featured in I think it was Call of Duty 4, I want to say.
Okay.
Which
That
is
I
like
didn't know.
which is
Yeah,
like
that I didn't know.
really random, and I don't know why I remember that. I don't even know if that's true. I remember reading that. I remember reading it somewhere.
Yeah.
It's like one of those forgotten albums that like was solid, but at the time people were just like, give it up, Billy Corgan. Stop making albums, like
Right, right,
your
right,
heyday
right.
is gone. But like you go back and you revisit it and you're like, why didn't I give this album the time of day? It's like pretty fucking good.
Right. Well, my favorites are Bleed the Orchid is really good. That's the Way My Love Is. Tarantula is great.
Tarantula's
Stars
good,
is
yeah.
one of my favorites. Stars is awesome. If and United States is awesome too. So if you get a chance, if you're out there, if you're curious about this, go on YouTube, put in Smashing Pumpkins Pink Pop 2007. It's a concert, okay? and you'll hear them play the United States, a lot of these songs on that, plus all the hits too on the same concert, right? And basically, you go listen to that and tell me this isn't just killer live. And it sounds like, if there's any Black Sabbath fans out there, it kind of sounds like Children of the Grave album music. Like it's like that. It's like stoner metal. Okay, basically.
The Black Sabbath song.
Yeah, Children of the Grave. That whole album. I think that's what it's called. Children of the Grave album, right?
What, Black Sabbath?
Yes. Is that what
Oh,
the album's
Master. You
called?
mean Master of Reality?
Sorry, excuse me. Children of the Grave is a song on there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Master of Reality. It sounds like a song from that album, basically, like a newer version of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's actually Billy says that that Black Sabbath is his all-time favorite band. So you hear a lot of that influence in there. And anyway,
Mm-hmm.
the point and Never Lost is really good. Bring the Light. Um, I got to be honest with you, there's only a couple songs on here that I skip. Like out of 15, like 12 of them I wouldn't skip. So the point is 12 out of 15 what I think are really good to me is either A or really high B. So so there you go. Like I would rather listen to this most days than Adore. Although
Really?
yeah, I would say that Adore just because Adore is very depressing, I don't want to listen
Yeah.
to it all the time.
Yeah. I'm
But-
rating it based on of like it's scratching the itch though for that certain like
I agree
one to
with you.
listen to.
Some of this, like the songs about its mom and all that stuff. I mean, yeah, that's
Yeah.
another level of songs that's probably not on Zeitgeist. That's true.
I
So
think
yeah,
a lot of the
yeah,
songs on Melancholy are pretty depressing too, but like they're, you know, they're masterpieces though. It's a masterpiece
that's true.
album.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. All right, so there you go. That's my ranking on it.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. Another album I was pretty surprised on. I was like, because I always had the notion, like, you know, like mid 2000s, like Smashing Pumpkins, like it's gonna be
Right.
shit, like.
Right.
But no, it's not. It's good, solid.
All right, you're up, and it's an album which I don't know if you've listened to.
I did. I actually
Oh, you
did listen to this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, you want to talk about it then?
Yeah, I'll give you a little bit.
All right.
So I was gonna listen to this in Oceania, but I only really had time to listen to the one, so I listened to this one.
Okay.
I'm assuming it's very similar to Oceania because they're based off of like the same projects, which is called
Yes.
Sea Garden by Kaleidoscope.
Yes, except the drummer's different.
Yes, the drummer's different.
Is Tommy Lee on this record? Actually?
Yeah, it is. I did
Yeah.
read that, and I know it's
Yeah.
still it's Jeff Schroeder too on this album.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so I one listen through, I it was cool. Like I liked it. Like this is where they started to get like some of like the synthy sounds, like the synth pop sounds that they had later on that Billy Corgan used later on, like on what is it, the Seer album.
Yep.
So I listened to the Seer album before I listened to this one, so I was like, okay, I kind of see where like he came up with that sound a little bit. So like I liked some of the tracks in this album, but as a whole, it kind of didn't really do too much for me. Like I was kind of just like slogging through it a little bit. I was like, all right, like, you know, this isn't like terrible, but like I like nothing, like there was a couple songs that were memorable for me, but as a whole, I don't know. Maybe I got to give it another listen. But I also remember like a long time ago randomly watching like Jimmy Kimmel, and they played a song off of this album. I don't remember which one it was, but I remember it sounded good, and I was like,
Okay.
and I remember hearing that song again like on this album when I listened to it, and I was like, you know what, like this, you know, this is pretty good.
So
But
this
like,
song right here, One and All,
mhm.
this on this album was originally written, the main riff for it, I think, back in the 1995 or something
Wow,
like that.
during like the Melancholy.
Yeah, it was an old riff that he brought back. And I definitely think not because of that reason, but that song stands out to me on that album.
Yeah,
And then I'm
this
like,
is.
when I look it out, I'm like, oh, that's why.
I didn't remember the
Yeah.
names, and I'm listening to it now. This is one of the ones that stood out actually.
Yeah.
This song sounds like classic Smashing Pumpkins.
It does. Yep.
I remember liking Drum and Fife. It had that like cool little like
Yep.
fluty intro.
Yep.
Oh, Being Beige, that's the one that they played on Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah, it's very like it sounds like pop rock. Like it's like,
Yeah, it does. Yep.
yeah, I don't know. It like threw me like off honestly when I listened to it, and it kind of like kind of mess up the whole listening experience. I was like, this is like seems so out of place, you know. Um,
Okay.
so I'll listen to it again and maybe we'll come back and change it. But as I have it now, I would put this in. I would put it in C tier, definitely.
So I only added 3 songs from this to my. So for those who aren't aware, I have a playlist that I made for all the like post melancholy or post adore really music that I want to go back and listen to more, like some of my favorites from these newer albums. And I only had 3 from this album,
Yeah,
which is I think is the lowest of any album I've pulled except for one of them.
I think I'd possibly even put it in like maybe high D. Like
Okay.
I don't think this is even in contention with their other albums personally, but
All right, we'll put it here first, and then at the
actually
end
no,
we'll see.
put it in C. Put it in C. Yeah, I feel
Yeah,
bad. I feel
it
bad
has
putting
some
it in
good
C.
songs on it. It has some good songs on
It
it. I mean,
does.
yeah, it has some good songs, but as an
As like
album,
as a
yeah,
flowing album, like
yeah,
track to track, it doesn't sound like cohesive
yeah.
to me.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 left. All right, let's see, 5 left. 3. All right, it's my turn. Oh boy. Okay, I was afraid of this one. Because I made a rule that you're only allowed to have 4 in each category, right? That
Here
rule
we
is for this purpose, actually,
here we
because
go.
oh boy, I feel like this is gonna get bumped by maybe, but I am putting this album, and I may bump it myself later. I don't know, but for now, as it stands, with only comparing to these albums, I am putting this album right here. For those that don't know, this is, I have it on vinyl, but this is just literally an MP3 that somebody pressed to vinyl, so it's worthless. But anyways, but I did listen to it on vinyl. Um, and this album is very, very, very good. It just sounds like crap. So that's one thing about it. But I actually cannot wait until they re-release this album because I like as soon as they get it, as soon as they do it, Mark, we should come back and just do an album review on it, maybe.
Sure.
Um, because I feel like it has the potential to even be better than Machina One. It has that potential.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my assessment on it. Yeah, what do you think about it, Mark?
I mean, yeah, it could.
Okay.
It's it came out very close to the other one, so it was probably recorded right around the same time, I would assume. So which begs the question, why is the production so much worse than the first one? You know?
I don't think it was recorded exactly at the same time. Let me see about that.
I think it was recorded like pretty close, like because I think
I,
Machina 1 was like 99 or right?
yeah, let's see. It says near the conclusion of the Machina sessions, right? Um, okay, so he wanted to, they wanted to release a second Machina album separately. So the band nonetheless returned to the studio. So this is after Machina came out. Then they went back into a studio and basically recorded what are the kind of equivalents to demos, really,
Mm.
which is what this is. So they didn't have like, I don't believe they had an outside producer. It's not mixed well. It's not recorded well. It's compressed to an MP3. Sounds
Yeah,
like crap. Yeah.
it's definitely what's holding it back for sure. I mean,
So it compressed to an MP3 in 2000 too. It's not like a
yeah,
recent
exactly.
encoding. So the point is, it doesn't sound good. So if you go and listen to it, be like, what are these guys talking about? Album's not good. No, it doesn't sound good. But I want you to just ignore that and just listen to the songs and pretend they sound good. Okay? So that's what you have to do. Like, imagine it sounds really good. Are the songs good? That's the have to ask yourself, right? And I would say the answer is yes. If you, I took a bunch of notes on these songs, and there are some like front to back, just really good killer songs. And this was one of the albums that really blew me away when I sat and listened to it again. Because I was like, I had no idea this album was that good. Like, really, I really didn't. Because I kind of dismissed it when it came out because it sounded like crap. And, you know,
Hmm.
so, and I was kind of out of it at that time of this style of music. So,
Like, how can an album that comes out nearly a decade after your debut sound like light years worse than your debut? Right? That makes no sense to me.
so,
Like
so,
when
yeah.
I was gonna say, just get the same producer, man. Like, what is going
Yeah.
on here?
Well, apparently the label didn't give him any money. So they didn't. Maybe they didn't want to hire people out of pocket. So the label didn't give money to do it, and then the label didn't give them money to release this album or to
They made
even
like two of the
promote it.
best selling albums of the '90s, and they gave them
Dude,
no money. It makes no sense.
that's how the labels are, man. So they didn't even give them the money to release it, like to make the pressings or anything. So they were just like, no.
I'm not even gonna comment on this album until the
Yeah.
remaster comes out, because then
Okay.
I'll be able to like really listen to it and actually enjoy it. Whereas like I'm listening to it now and it's like kind of hurting my ears.
It
What is
does hurt your ears.
what is the
But so,
treble, dude? What is going on this album?
but but
Let,
but
let
let me
me.
say this. Let me say. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry. What were you
I
saying?
was just gonna. All I was gonna say was I'm gonna make this like a point whenever we do tier lists. This is the worst album cover of all of the albums too.
Oh
Like
yeah, for sure. Yeah, for
what bro,
sure. Yeah.
what is that, like the freaking like World Industries logo, like the skateboarding company? Like what the hell is even on there? It's like little raindrops. It looks horrible.
There was one song that reminded me of the Cocteau Twins. By the way, the Cocteau
Oh,
Twins episode's coming out this week. So if you're listening to that, go check out the Cocteau Twins episode. That song is called In My Body. Check out that song
in
again.
my body.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that song reminded that was a note I took actually.
Did you listen to any other Cocteau Twins albums?
I did not, but the one I heard, that song reminded me of a little bit. So anyway, the point is, I think this is a very good album, potentially better than Machina One. Potentially, I just got to hear it, right now. It's not because I can't even. It sounds so bad that there's no way, right?
Yeah.
But it has the potential. All right, let's move on. We got four left.
Yeah, it has that like ethereal sounding guitars. That's yeah.
Yeah. So the next one is Sear. This is
Ooh,
yours.
this is me. Cool.
Yeah.
So to reiterate on what I was saying earlier with Monuments to Analogy, this album is their synth pop electro pop album,
Hmm.
which, as you know, for me, if you've seen past episodes, I love electronic music, so I was very delighted to hear this one. Also, very surprised to hear this out. I shouldn't really even say surprised, honestly. It was. I know he has like a very eclectic taste, so but as I'm listening to it and I see like the genres and stuff, I'm like, wow, cool, like synth pop album.
Hmm.
And yeah, like it's very interesting sounding album. And I believe this is the second album after James Iha came back, right?
Yeah. So the first album, which we haven't talked about yet, is the Shiny and Oh So Bright one. But they don't really consider that an album, although it is an album. That was just like a collection of songs they happened to record when they got back together with Rick Rubin,
Hmm.
who kind of inspired them like in the studio, and he kind of produced them, like give me the songs and I'll let you know if they're any good kind of thing. So they let him do that. And so those 8 songs that they give me, he's like, oh, they're all good. Let's just make an album, right? And that's how that
Yeah.
happened, right? But this was the first true reunion Smashing Pumpkins album where they sat down from the beginning, constructed the what it was going to be like, and like basically self-produced it. So this is like, and this is what they did. So it's very interesting, actually. I thought that this is what they came back with.
Okay. Yeah. Again, like I do like the album, but this does not sound like a Smashing Pumpkins album to me in the slightest.
Okay.
This sounds like a Billy Corgan side project album with two of the original members of Smashing Pumpkins.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and that doesn't mean that I don't like the album, but if I'm just basing this off of like a Smashing Pumpkins tier list, it's just it sounds like them really trying to reestablish themselves as like a synth pop band. Now, some of the songs on here I really liked a lot. Like
Hmm.
the songs here I really liked a lot. The songs was Starcraft was good.
Yep.
Um, Black Forest, Black Hills was good. Just to name a few, like there's 20
Yeah.
tracks.
The A Color of Love. The
Yeah.
Doping Me Attic
Yeah,
one is really good.
the opening is yeah.
The Ramona song is good. Oh,
Ramona's good.
this Birch Grove. I sat down. I actually texted at lunchtime my wife the lyrics to this song. This song is kind of amazing, actually. This song is about because he's like a very older dad, basically. I think his kids are like 6 and 8, and he's like 58, right, or something like that.
Hmm.
So this song is about him kind of being afraid not seeing his kids grow up. and it is like a song basically written about his kids. It's a really mature, beautiful song, right? About people changing, like himself changing by becoming a dad, his kids changing as they get older, and then like moving away from him as they get older, things like that.
Hmm.
So, man, this is a good song. So, anyway, the point is, there's like a lot of hidden gems on this album that I was really surprised by, I would say.
I was too, and at the same
Mhm.
time, there were some songs where I was just like, "Ooh, this didn't work out too well."
Yeah, well, you got to try, right?
Yeah, no, listen, listen, listen.
Right.
I said it earlier. I said I
Right.
commend him for trying different things.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
This
Yeah.
album may not have been perfect or it may not have been really liked by a lot of people, but at least he tried it, you know?
Yeah.
So I
What would
commend him.
you where would you rank it, Mark?
I'd put it probably high C because
Okay.
there's definitely some tracks that I do like a lot on here that I would listen to again. But
Okay. Okay.
as a whole, I would say the album, like good tracks to like blah tracks, would be like 30 to 70, personally.
Okay.
And
My
that
my my ratio is actually flipped on that one.
70 to 30. Okay, so you would put this higher then.
Yeah, but I'm okay leaving it here for now. It's okay.
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 Remember,
I would put it above Oceana, in my opinion. Yeah. That's where I
okay,
would put it.
okay, okay. I
Okay.
remember this is off of one listen too, so
Sure.
I mean I'm
Let me do
discovering this
that. How
for the
about
first time. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
that? Okay. Just for now, we can adjust it. All right. There's one of these might shake things up or not. We'll see. There's three left. All right, three. It's my turn, right?
I know where that's going.
This is a D tier album. I'll be point blank about this. So speaking of props, here's the Sear vinyl. There you go. This is a really nice vinyl,
Yeah,
actually.
that's a nice vinyl.
And
I love the album artwork. The album artwork's awesome.
here's this album's vinyl. Okay. Now this album is like three or four vinyls. It's like a heavy album. Okay, LP, right? It has 33 songs on it. More than Melancholy and Infinite Sadness. I want to say that again. It has more songs than Melancholy and Infinite Sadness. All right. There's a previous episode we did. If you're a Dream Theater fan or if you're not a Dream Theater fan, I would encourage you to go watch that episode because it's very similar to this one, but just by a different band. But if you like tier list episodes, but in that episode, we talk about an album called The Astonishing, which is a very long concept album. And this autumn is a very long concept album. It's actually on the title, it says a rock opera. Whenever you write the word rock opera, my brain goes, wait a minute, this could be really bad. Like as soon as I hear that, it could be the best thing you've ever heard, but there's a big chance it's going to be terrible or not that good, right? So the point of this saying, out of this 33 songs, there was three songs out of 33 that I put on my playlist that I said, I would like to listen to these again. Three
I
out of 33. That's my right. That's why I gave it a D tier album.
wonder if I can guess which ones they are.
Well, good question. Good maybe, but I would say for me, I could just tell you real quick. One of them is am I looking at the right one? I am. There's so many songs that's like
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, Beguiled is
Big
one of
Out
them.
is good. That's a
Yeah.
good. The Culling is good. The first half is okay. The second half is like I would say almost amazing, actually. That song is very good. And there's a song called um Steps in Time. That's a really good song.
Okay.
The intro is just an instrumental. It's actually very cool. When I heard this intro, I was like, I was in. They hooked me immediately. I was like, oh wow, this sounds awesome. I can't wait for this album. I was really excited about it. And then I was like, song by song, I was taking notes. And I was like, man, I really want to like it, but I gotta tell. So anyway, but yeah. Any other thoughts about it? We should just move on from this one, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Good try though, boys. Good try. We appreciate that. We do appreciate the try. Okay. But even my favorite band, Dream Theater, has an album, but we also put in D tier. So there you go. All right. Last but not this is you. Okay. So you're gonna get one of these two albums.
Any band that's been around for 30 plus years is gonna have a shitty album. It's
Yeah.
inevitable. What I get?
Pisces Iscariot.
Oh, okay. I'm actually going to concede this to you,
Okay.
and I'll do Shiny and Oh So Bright.
Well, you're very mean because I would put it in A, which means I appreciate that actually. So I'm going to have to bump something out of A. That's the hard part. All right. I'm
It's
going to
not
bump
hard. This is not hard.
I'm going to bump it out of A, okay? Only
Yeah,
because of the way it sounds, purely. We will revisit this when it comes out again, and I want to compare Pisces Iscariot to this, okay?
you
Basically,
might bump it up to S tier. Who knows?
who knows? The point is, Pisces Iscariot, for those who don't know, is an album of which is basically very similar to the Airplane Flies High block set. Is an album of just B-sides and songs that didn't make it onto Gish and Siamese Dream. That's what it is. But that's how good Gish and Siamese Dream were. That the songs that didn't make it onto those albums is an A tier album. That's how good those songs are.
Hmm.
That just shows you how talented and amazing they were at that time, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, some of my favorites are the whole thing. Just be honest with you. It's like it's pretty much all the songs I like. There isn't a song I don't like on there, and some of the songs I like even more. I mean, the cover of Landslide. My wife said, my wife, who's not a Smashing Pumpkins fan, okay, listen to that cover of Landslide. She said, "This is better than the original." I said, I literally thought she was joking, and I was like, "Are you serious?" She's like, "Yes." And I was like, why? She's like, it just sounds more emotional when he sings it. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, you know
Okay.
what? I can understand that. And the guitar solo in that song, it literally can bring a tear to your eye how beautiful that guitar solo.
Mm.
And I looked that up, and that apparently was recorded live at the BBC.
Yeah, I could see that. It sounds like it could be live. Yeah.
But that performance live is
It's
crazy on that
good,
album.
man. Yeah, it's
It's
good. Really
freaking
good.
fantastic. So
Yeah.
anyway, any thoughts about this one?
Um, not I mean, not no.
Okay.
It's it's a
Okay.
like the one of the points I was gonna make on it was the landslide cover, and you really just hit it on the head, I think. So
Oh, it's great. It's great. Yeah,
it
it's
is,
great.
man. It's really good. I also like it more than the original, and I like um Fleetwood Mac a lot,
Yeah.
but I think it's better, honestly.
Yeah. And to some out there, that might sound like sacrilegious, but honestly, just listen to Billy Corgan sing that song with the guitar solo. It's hard. I mean, they're both great, but another standout for me is Starla, that
Mm,
song. It's very like it's kind of shoegazy, and then it gets into like a hard rock groove in, and then it gets crazy, like just sound wise. It just goes all over the place. That's really like a treat. So, all right. And last but not least, it is you now, shiny and oh so bright.
low C tier.
Ooh, lower than the Eulogy album.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right, that I didn't expect. All right, let's talk about that. This is the one we got to talk about, I guess. All right, talk to me about it. Yeah.
Um, I I don't know. It just didn't hit with me.
Okay. Fair enough.
Um,
What's gonna happen?
out of the tracks on the album that I really remember and are memorable, I would say Silvery Sometimes was good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Solara, but everything else is just kind of
All right.
didn't really stick with me.
All
I was
right.
like, I heard like the opening track. What is it? Knights of Malta. It's
Mm-hmm.
got that nice, cool like piano intro with like the weird like vocals, and I was like, all right, this sounds cool. And then
Right.
it's just like, I don't know. It doesn't really go anywhere.
Mm. It doesn't go anywhere because it's literally just a collection of songs. It's not
Yeah,
really an album.
it's
That's
not
what they
even
were
really
saying. Yeah.
it's not even really an album, and I don't know. James Eha's back, so it's like hooray! But it's like, oh, this album's like pretty mediocre. Like we were just talking about, like some of their albums have to be at like near the bottom, Like it's just the
All
way it
right.
is.
So
Um,
let's wrap it up, Mark, because I want to give you my notes, and you
okay.
might laugh. Here's literally what I wrote. I'm not amending it at all. Okay. This is my album ranking. 5 out of 8 are very good, and there's no bad songs. That's what I said about
For that,
it.
for Shiny
So,
and Oh So Bright.
yes, actually, that was my note about the album. And then I went song by song. The first song I said, cool song, but not crazy about it,
Hmm.
which I think you agreed with that.
Yep.
Silvery, I love that song.
It's good.
I
It's the
thought
best song on the album.
yeah. I thought Travels personally I thought was really good. Solara I thought was good. Alienation I thought was okay. Marching On I really like that song. With Sympathy I really like that song too. And the last song I thought was pretty cool, but not like it's one of the ones I didn't. That's the 5 out of 8. Those are the three. So the three I didn't
Yeah.
really love were the Seek. I just shorthand here. The
Seek
last
and You
one,
Shall Destroy.
yeah, the last one, the first one, and Alienation. All the rest I put on my playlist. So I think we had totally different opinions about this album. That's kind of fun. All
Yeah,
right,
which is what we want. Well, that's what we want, though. We don't want
that's
to
true.
disagree on everything.
That's true. If I were to rank it personally, I don't mind just saying all I would do, honestly, is just do that. That's all I would do.
That's fine.
Yeah. Um,
Um,
yeah.
I do say that Jimmy Chamberlain's drums on that album are very good, though. I did enjoy that.
Yes. So I totally agree. He's the man. And by the
Mhm.
way, my last note, you just reminded me of that. Zeitgeist. What was up with like mid 2000s drum sounds? The snare drum on that almost sounds like the St. Anger snare.
Oh,
It's not that bad, but it's like 50% there, actually. If you go back and listen to that Zeitgeist album, I wish they would remix that album. Actually, I do not like the mix on that album. I think the album suffers a lot because of the mix,
they
actually.
really should go back and
Yeah.
do that in Machina too.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, folks, well, to wrap it up, this is our Smashing Pumpkins tier list. It's been a lot of fun, not only recording this with you, Mark, but going back, listening to all the old albums, listening to all the new ones multiple times. Something I've been doing. Buying all these vinyls so I can I find if I buy a vinyl, I take it way more serious because I'm sitting down and I just spent money on this. I want to really listen to it. And I want to like it. It actually gives me I give it extra credit because I'm trying to like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's that. So anyway, so I have so yeah, love this stuff. Smashing Pumpkins. For those who aren't aware, and Mark, I don't even know if you're aware of this. So Smashing Pumpkins are doing a world tour. What I mean by world, not the US, later this fall. All right. The original band, well, without Darcy, of course. But Billy Corgan is doing something called Billy Corgan and the Machines of God. And what he's doing is he's doing a small, 2-month tour, I think, with some other people, like a woman that has played guitar for Smashing Pumpkins and some other people. And basically, what he's doing is because they're re-releasing Machina 1 and Machina 2, he's playing a bunch of Machina songs and Melancholy and Infinite Sadness songs. So it's literally basically you're just gonna go hear Melancholy, Infinite Sadness, and Machina. Basically, that's what he said, right?
Nothing wrong with that, man.
Machina 1 and 2, and Melancholy, Infinite Sadness, and it's gonna be
So
Billy Corgan. So I'm
what
like, yeah,
when he plays two, is he gonna lower all the settings on the equipment and stuff? So it sounds
yeah. So that's why. So Mark, this is going to get this. This is going to be at the TLA.
Is it really?
That's going to be awesome.
What
It's going to be
date?
so tiny. June 16th.
I'm guessing. Do you have tickets already?
I have one ticket, but it's GA, right? So you can get a ticket. Is what I'm saying.
What was it costing you?
I got the VIP one. I don't know how much the regular one costs. I got the VIP one because I always wanted to meet Billy Corgan, and if you get the VIP, you get to meet him. The
Oh,
point, so the point, yeah. So the point is, if you want to go, we can just go because you just get a GA ticket and I'll just meet you in the front, for the GA or whatever. The point is that that tour is coming in June. So if anybody is interested in Smashing Pumpkins and wants to hear Machina 1, Machina 2 music, and Melancholy, you're basically guaranteed to hear that music. So there you go.
very cool.
In a small club. So yeah, when you're
Yeah.
gonna see that. So it's pretty rare. Well, folks, if you're still listening, we really appreciate it. Thank you. The next episode is going to be the Shoegaze episode, which features the album Loveless by My Bloody Valentine, which we've referenced, and the album by Cocteau Twins called, what is it called?
Heaven or Las Vegas.
Yes. So Heaven or Las Vegas. All right. So I just wanted to sequence these two coming out basically back to back. So, all right. I'm not sure what the next episode is going to be, but we have a whole list of stuff we're going to be covering. So stay tuned for that. All right, folks. Well, thank you very much. Until next time.